Great. Well, thank you for letting me be here. I'm humbled to be sharing a stage with these amazing speakers. And actually, my adventure was choice, and some people here didn't have that choice. But no, it's fantastic to be here, and I actually dedicate this to my father, who just passed away. But he was a great speaker. He hated me going off on these adventures, but he always supported me. So, Dad, this is for you. Adventure, right, we all can translate it in different ways, and we had this discussion earlier. What actually does it mean? Well, there's an element of danger in there, and there's a lot of things in there. But for me, the adventure started back in October 2017. It actually began in a Chinese restaurant in London. And this is just before. The boy in the middle there, or the man, is a fantastic artist called Lawrence, and he's actually my godson. And either side of him is his mother and his aunt. And they announced at dinner that they were going off to run a marathon and go to Everest Base Camp to raise money for charity. Why not? And Lucy, who's sitting on the other side, and I looked at each other and said, "Can we come too?" I'd always wanted to get up close to Everest. I'd seen it from a distance once, and I wanted to meet Yuna, who's a young girl. She's 8. Teo, my husband, and I have been sponsoring her in Nepal through Plan International. It seemed too good an opportunity not to take. So before we knew it, there we were, training. And the first challenge I had was like, where am I going to find the time? I need to run 3 days a week, run about 700 kilometers. That's equivalent from between Leiden and Berlin and a little bit further. But thank goodness for my buddies and trainers from Running Blind, who actually, I can't find the words, were amazing. I had some memorable runs. I had to travel for work. I went to Las Vegas, ran in the deserts, as one does, at 5:30 in the morning, and then was meant to go to Toronto, which I did, but to run, and it was minus 15 and the snow up to here. So I had to swap my shorts for snow boots, and that was somewhat frustrating. And I remember having to think, oh, hang on. Another challenge was raising money. I've never been good at asking for money. My friends will tell you I'm useless at sending a tikkie. But anyway, but I had wonderful support, including my son's school at Hanstra. We all ran with the single lope last year and raised some money. And I did a sponsored barbecue. And some of you are here today, and I want to thank you. We had the best DJs, best bar, best fun, and all for good causes. I also shared a story that was a challenge about my eyes. I hadn't really talked about it before. I have retinitis pigmentosa, which renders me night blind, and I'm losing some colour. It was a hard story to tell, but I wanted to do it for Plan and for Running Blind, this great crew who got me over the line in 4 hours, 17, 19, don't know what it was. I then had to swap my running shoes for my hiking boots, and at the beginning it felt so slow. Now, why the cookbooks, you might ask? Well, I had to have some weight in the back, so I put cookbooks in, never mixed them up, and I put in my sandwiches and my water, and I went off on picnics. Then there was no more excuse. It was time to go. We met at the airport, training in, and the adventure was just around the corner, right? But it seemed so surreal. We'd all read our notes. We'd reread John Krakau's book on Everest and Into Thin Air, and we had to get there. And one short sleep in Kathmandu and a terrifying white knuckle ride in an aeroplane to a place called Luklau. Don't Google it at the moment, I'm just saying. We were by the gate in going into this national park in Kathmandu. We were with 20 other hikers, 22 Sherpas, caterers, God knows what. We even had our own, what are those called? Group of cows, I've forgotten, herd, thank you, of yaks. It was great. And the scenery was breathtaking. It literally was fantastic. And of course, it was Nepali flat, which wasn't flat. It was very hilly, but it was breathtaking. It was fantastic. Challenge number 2, meet the yaks, one way on a very wobbly bridge. Or maybe you're going to meet a herd of, what are those things? Donkeys, yeah, those kind of things. They won every single time, and we watched some interesting situations. This was quite terrifying. But anyway, we all held hands. This picture means the world to me, and some of you from Running Blind know this. One night, when everybody was going, wow, look at those stars, and I was going, what stars? One guy, I hadn't met him before, Chris, just stayed up till 1 in the morning to make this photo for me. You make friends fast on a mountain. And here's another challenge, minus 20, got to drop that in there, in my tent in the morning. It was horrible, but as soon as I opened up the tent, that was my view. You can't complain, can you? It was absolutely gorgeous. And the mountains, I just fell totally in love with them. But it was hard. There's no denying it. You had to give up creature comforts and your wet wipes froze. But anyway, when I got above the tree line, it really got hard. But the way that I kept going, because the altitude here was heavy, it was about 50% oxygen, was to think of the sounds all around me. And I used the hearing a lot and listening to the waters from the glaciers or listening to the birds circling above us. And then we were there. We'd made it. And it was surreal. We were at Everest Base Camp. And there was lots of emotions, exhaustion mainly, but lots of happiness. And I was a little bit sad. I'd lived in another world for 2 weeks, and I was going to have to change all that. But while I was there was something knotting in my stomach, and it wasn't the altitude, and it wasn't the hunger. It was that I was going to go and see Una. When everyone else left, it was horrible. I was on my own in Kathmandu. And I flew to a place called Napalaganj to go and meet her with the planned team. It was incredible. Here was this girl I was going to meet that we'd known all her life and felt some responsibility for, but I shouldn't have worried. Here was gorgeous Una clutching onto the toys from Gillis, my son, and some photos with her younger sister. They welcomed me warmly, if not a little nervously, covered me in flowers, honoured me with a bindi, and proudly showed me their village. It was a wonderful moment, and the final puzzle piece of my journey and my adventure fell into place. When we flew out of Kathmandu, I always say we, but I was on my own then, I watched the Himalayas so they disappeared, and I made a promise that one day I'll go back, and I'll go back to Una with my family and meet her again. That's it. That was my adventure. Thank you.